Welcome back to the lab episode. I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, I think it's like episode 22, I'm guessing.
Nice.
Maybe.
I went to your YouTube channel and checked out a bunch of them. I was driving home from Yuma. I wasn't watching them while I was driving. I was listening.
Yeah.
But it was a lot. There's a lot there, dude. And just to see your growth is pretty cool. I remember the first one. I remember help setting up the lab quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's turned into quite a thing. It's awesome.
You know, I mentioned this already a couple of times to different people this past week of an opportunity that we're working on right now. And it was amazing, actually. It felt good. This is like the first time I felt good, felt comfortable being in front of the camera, doing what we do. So we had like 5 producers on this Zoom call, right? Because they want to find out more about real estate. And one of the biggest reasons why we even do the lab and to begin with, and you know, it's obviously about the mindset, but not just the mindset, but the entrepreneurial spirit and the area of expertise that people are in. Because we have so many years in the industry and we take it so for granted. And some of the best conversations that I know I have are like water cooler talk.
Yep, 100%.
You know? And I'm not even joking. Like, there's been times I've had conversations with some people and they were actually like influencers, right? So that like their job is to go on, you know, Instagram and have like 500,000 followers. And we're having lunch and the guy goes, dude, you just gave me an idea how to make a couple 100,000 right now. Why are you doing this to one person? And I kind of like sat there and he's like, I guess so. But it didn't really occur to me because it's not like this is from our era. Right. So, yeah, and I mean, and it was nice to hear in one side of it. On the other side of it, what I started to realize, I said, you know, who I really want to influence is my kids. Mm-hmm. And so when we did the presentation to some producers, I was like, hey, what's your why? Why do you want to do this? And I said, quite frankly, this is actually for my kids. My kids are in their early teens. I can talk to them about certain things, but they don't listen to their dad. So what I love to do is put something on YouTube just for them to be able to go back to when they're ready to. Maybe I die tomorrow, but at least I have something for them that gives them a little bit of a path. Oh, this is what my dad was about. Oh, that's what he meant by this. Or, man, that's a great idea. And when they get old enough to do investments or to do different things, they have at least a roadmap. So thank you guys mostly for contributing to that.
And it's cool because
it's not about me.
Going through the list of videos that you've already done, they're from so many different areas. It's just not all real estate, all mortgage all the time. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got some mindset stuff. You've got some, obviously the real estate thing is there too, but you got some coaching there. And so it's really cool to see just again, like I said in the very beginning, just to watch where it was to where it is now. And now that you've said what you just said about wanting to do it for your kids, where it's going to go and how much more you're actually going to do with it. So I'm looking forward to watching it all.
Well, also right now is probably the best time to accelerate and circumvent knowledge and education, not just through schools, elementary, middle, university, but YouTube alone, you can learn literally anything.
Yeah.
And now you can say, hey, kids, what do you want to do? I want to learn about this. Awesome. Let's pull it up. Mm-hmm. And you can learn from the best minds in the best industries. And you can literally just hockey stick that knowledge in a matter of a couple hours.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, okay, I got to go to the university for, a couple of years. It's like, not anymore. Yeah.
You know, and I saved myself a couple notes.
Or even reading a book for that matter.
Yeah.
You know, I actually, it's funny because, so guys, just so you know, I can go back to the audience real quick. So I got Justin Brown here, Alliance Escrow, and Tim Garland, also from Alliance, but both veterans of the real estate industry for how long now?
10 plus for me.
10 plus for you.
I think it's 22, 23 years.
23 years for you. So the thing that's different about not even just in real estate, and this is one of the things I was telling the producers about. I said, in every transaction, there's like 17 different bodies involved on average that are involved in the deal. And as a vendor participant of the transaction, one of the benefits that we have is the volume of transactions that we do.
Yep.
So your typical realtor does anywhere between 3 to 6 deals a year, right?
Average.
An
realtor.
average. Your
Average
average,
realtor.
right?
Yep.
And we're doing a multiple of like 100 of that.
That's pretty safe to say.
Safe to say, right? So when things go sideways or when something comes up, because of the advantage of the number of transactions of units that we get to do, it poses us an opportunity to provide more answers for solutions. And you know, when I talk about from the loan side, some agents only do maybe like one VA loan a year. And so that's their level of expertise, is that one, maybe two, maybe even three. But that's like a parent having 2 kids and then considering themselves a pediatrician, right? They're just
Sometimes I feel like that.
right. Like it's enough to make us dangerous, but it's not enough to really make us a really proficient in that craft.
Right.
And so I was talking to some agents today about a property that's in pre-foreclosure, and they're getting the payoffs and the demands and everything else, and coordinating that with the different investors and, you know, that kind of thing. And the first time they do it is really stressful. And I'm on the phone 3-way. And so it's like, hey, you know, Anthony, this date's coming up. I said, well, I just called the trustee. We pushed it out to the 29th of January. We have time. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm like, just pick up the phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like, but we since we do it so often, we don't want to be the guys freaking out. We want to be like the anchor of the transaction. But the benefit was because of just doing it so repetitively and then taking the emotion out of it, right? And so that really got me thinking on a number of things, because when we were going to meet today, I'm like, wow, what are some of the things that we operate differently in? Like, what are some of the unique positions that we have, and what you guys have in particular is the unit volume of transactions that you deal with on a regular basis, the number of agent relationships you're constantly talking to. You get to see things from a much broader perspective. And then the other common trait before we started, I was talking to you guys about, was that competitive nature.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things I see in an entrepreneurial spirit regularly. When I look at an investor, when I'm dealing with someone who's building a business, whatever it may be, a team leader, it's always a very consistent, higher level of expectation they have of themselves. But it's not just in work. It's in like all things.
Their entire life.
Yeah. Hobbies.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said like the repetitiveness. And we're in San Diego. So I was just talking about this last week with a friend of mine. You know, the only reason why we have more knowledge or more experience is because we've had more reps. And the only way to get that is you have to have as many reps as possible. So the reason why what made Tony Gwynn such an amazing batter,
Yeah.
he saw the ball coming at him a million times, a couple million times.
Right.
So he just had the reps down. So he knew if it's in this box, that's my swing box.
He can see it.
Yeah. And so like for us and for you and for anybody that's at a higher volume of production, we've just seen it more times than others.
And I think another thing too is it's okay to not have all the answers. And I think that kind of grows from the process. You know, when we don't know, I think it's enough. We've hit the wall so many times of not knowing. We're okay with not knowing.
Yeah. I actually love it. I mean, I like the fact
Right?
that like
Absolutely.
somebody will ask you, hey, I'm like, I don't know. But like now in my mind, I'm like,
I got to go find out.
I want to, I need to know. I want to know.
It's different.
Yeah.
It hits different. It really does. Because when I've talked to newer agents, that's one of like their biggest fears. Like what are some of the biggest fears you have when you're cold calling? Just not knowing the answer. I don't know what to say. Well, how about you say, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Let me circle back to you on that one. And even if it's like the most basic thing, I think more people will respect you for your level of humility to be able to humble yourself. And guess what? It's genuine. You really don't know.
Yeah.
Nothing
And
wrong with that.
the last thing you want to do is wing it and just be completely wrong.
Right? That's 100% true. So there's a weird thing about putting up the reps that we start learning about ourselves a lot. You know, the humility, number one, the ability to say, okay, I don't know everything. because I've seen a lot, but man, this is a new one, and I've done that all the time. I'm like, damn, this is tricky. Let me check this one out. Let me figure this out. And we find more.
We have the curiosity now.
Yeah, the curiosity, but the excitement in the curiosity
and competitiveness.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, like you said, competitive. I could play competitive badminton. I might not be good, but
we're gonna go to town.
We're gonna go to town. And
that's right.
I'm gonna give everything I got.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But speaking of competitiveness, though, so you guys do some amazing stuff, and I think it's so awesome sometimes. Because I know, like for you, Tim, the bike riding thing.
Yeah.
And I can't degrade it by saying the bike riding thing. It's like
it is a bike riding thing.
It is a bike riding thing.
That's all it is.
But I mean, dude, the amount of miles that those bikes go through is like, that's not normal.
No. I would say, I can't say what percentage of people actually do the miles that myself and now this guy does as well. But it's not a lot. You know, when I tell people like, oh, I'm going to go ride my bike this week. And how far are you going to ride? I don't know, 60, 80.
Yeah, I know. 100 miles. I think I'll put 100 miles this weekend.
And they're like, 60, 80 what? Like minutes? No, miles. And like, whoa, how long does that take? I don't know. 4 hours?
However long it takes.
Yeah.
However long it takes. And like, man. And then what's really weird though is sometimes when I'm thinking about it and I'm telling somebody where I went, it's like, oh God, I went from La Mesa to Poway to La Jolla, downtown and back.
Yeah,
bro,
on a bike.
Put it in perspective. That's like going from San Diego to L.A.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, San Jose to San Francisco is 45 miles. So you just did a round trip from San Jose to San Francisco and back.
Yeah. No, but it's a trip because when you're doing it, you're just in it, and it's it's really peaceful. I mean, all you're really doing is concentrating and not getting hit by a car. Mm-hmm. But when you finish it and you're talking to somebody about it, it's like, damn. If you asked me to get in my car and go do that, I'd say, heck no, I don't want to go do that today.
Yeah.
But when you're on the bike, it's just a different thing.
It's such zen, though.
100%.
Right?
Like I tell people when I'm talking about it, like, how do you do it? What are you thinking about? And, some people, will listen to music or whatever. And it's truly one of the times, and Justin can attest this because we've ridden together enough to know this about each other riding together, is we can be talking about work, but it's not talking about work.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly probably the only time in anything that I do that my brain is shut off from work. Like my phone will ring, I don't answer it. I'll see text messages, I don't return them. But we could be talking about work, but it doesn't feel like you're just completely shut off from everything, and I'm just focusing on not getting hit by a car.
Right, right.
Really.
And then you just did your, was it a full Ironman?
Yeah, did a full Ironman.
But
tell everybody what that really means.
yeah, I was going to say, but there's a caveat to that because it's not just how much did you train for the Ironman?
Oh man, the half I did earlier this year was a fair amount of training. The full was all consuming. So like every day it was 2 to 4 hours, rest one day a week, maybe 2 if I was super sore.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a grind. And what it consists of is a 2.4 mile swim, which I say before this year, I don't even think I've swam 0.4 miles. Literally maybe to the other side of the pool.
I gotta
to
feel
get
cool
my,
like you guys. I gotta get my kombucha.
There
out
you
too.
go. I mean, maybe to the other side of the pool to get my kids. But 2.4 mile swim, 114 mile bike ride.
Right.
And then a full marathon.
Right after you get out of the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get out
So
of the
you
water.
do the 2.5 miles first. Then you do a, how many miles on the bike?
114 miles.
Then you go do another 114 on the bike. And then when you're done with that, then how much do you run?
26 point.
Then you go run a marathon.
Yeah, a marathon.
So for everybody else that shows up to like a half marathon, double that.
Yep.
And then before you even showed up to the marathon, go ride your bike 115 miles.
Yeah.
And then before you even show up to ride your bike for 115 miles, go swim for 2.5 miles.
Yeah. It was incredible. It was such a fun experience. And
yeah.
The training, again, I tell people it's like, you need to be mentally prepared and committed to the training program. Because I saw people out there on the course that, and you kind of just will pass by, hey, how was your training? How's your nutrition? But you boil everything down and you can tell the ones that trained and the ones that didn't. And they're hurting. like really, really bad.
Yeah.
But the training was, again, 6 days a week, 5-6 days, 2 to 4 hours every day. A big day on a Saturday or Sunday, and a big day would consist of like 4 to 8 hour training.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's no family time, there's no fun time, there's no extracurricular stuff, because if you want to cross that finish line, you made the commitment, you do the work, you'll get past it.
Yeah.
Well,
And it's crazy though, when you kind of think about something like that, because, you put that much time in. How did you prep your family for that level of dedication you had to put into that?
It's a great question. Well, I'm already kind of hardwired a little differently. And I said, hey, I think I want to try this. And she's like, well, are you thinking about it or are you going to do it? And I'm like, no, I think I'm going to do it.
Your challenge accepted.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And I'm like,
Thanks, babe, for your permission.
yeah. And then I was like, well, this is what it's going to take. Because even in business, like we'll have family chats. Hey, I want to do this. This is what it's going to consist of. And I think this is what I'm going to have to give to this thing. Yeah. So when it came to the Ironman training, I showed her my workout plan, which was brought to me by ChatGPT.
Okay.
Gotta love the AI.
It's amazing, bro. ChatGPT and the University of YouTube.
Oh, man.
You got all knowledge of humanity at your fingertips.
My professors and mentors and Tim, and like I've had really live coaches as well. And I'm like, hey, this is my training program. She goes, like, for how long? I'm like, until the race. And this was in May. So I'm like, and I mean, you got travel and like,
yeah, you got life in between.
And
right.
She was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, this is what it's going to take. So when you ask me to do something on a Saturday morning, I can't because I'm committed to this.
Yeah.
Or if you're like, if you really need me to do this, I'm going to have to move this training to this day and it's going to push that back.
Yeah.
So there was major sacrifice, like major sacrifice. And like, there'd be times where she's like, hey, I really want to do this with the family. And I'm like, cool. But now guess what? I'm going to sub this out and this is going to put this in that place. And so you're not going to see me tomorrow for not just 3 hours. Maybe it's going to be 5, 6, 7 hours.
Right.
And most of the times I was gone before they were even up and kids were active and
they really didn't miss you.
No.
Has your sleep changed any? Did you go to bed a lot earlier or anything?
Man.
Or
yeah, surprisingly. I mean, I'm a late night type person. I'm a night owl. But with all the trainings, I would start to go to bed, start to go for like 10:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then it's just, as it progressed, I was like, hey, sweetheart, I'm tired. It's like 8:15. She's like, what?
But it's funny though. It's like, before I got in the car accident, I was doing a lot of like ruck marches. You guys know, I would take my 60 pounds and go like 15 miles, and, there's a certain point where you feel like a little train. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Like, it's just like little, like you're just like chugga, and you just keep going and you get this pace going. Yep. But the pace in itself, like every extra amount of movement going forward, is almost like the reward. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, I got a little more. I'm not even tired. Yeah. And you're looking around and you're like enjoying the sights. I'm not even tired right now. This is so sick. I'm on a road trip.
Yep.
And you're just kind of grinding.
Yeah.
And you're just moving and just moving and just moving. But
so I got to go back to something that he said about and I actually mentioned this to you the other day, and I said it to him. I said, we got to get you in the lab to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because I work with the guy on a daily basis, and I did see him at work less during his training, but he wasn't working less. And I know how much time he still spent with his family. I still know he took trips.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, dude, you got to go in there and talk about it, because the work-life balance that he had, and then you throw in the training on top of that, it was absolutely nuts that to see it all happen. And then once he finished it, I was like, bro, that's unbelievable. I'm
right.
incredibly proud of you for doing it. And, for me to toot his horn for him, because he won't do it. He's only been riding a bike for maybe a year.
Right.
Yeah, I'm only writing because
Yeah,
of this guy.
yeah.
Maybe
But
a
you know
year.
what though? So truthfully though, now that you said that, work-life balance is actually a myth
Mm-hmm.
because it's really about efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because like some people say, I need to do 3 hours here, and then I need to do my 8 hours of my job, then I gotta spend some time with the wife, and blah blah blah. But you can do that in a high level of intensity and get more payout from it, because it's not a matter of a balancing act. Is that when you're there 100, you're there 110, and then it's enough, right? So instead of spending 3 hours with your kid watching TV,
Right.
let's spend an hour, go for a walk and talk,
Mm-hmm.
and really connect with your kid at that moment. And then, okay, now it's time for me to go work out, and not just go any workout and half-assed and look at Instagram and kind of, do a couple reps. It's like, I'm in there, I'm working,
Yeah.
I'm done. Now I'm here, I'm doing this, I'm done.
And Tim was right. Like, I still, family, 3 kids, date nights, and then not just the company, but other businesses as well.
Yeah.
And
Because you have your developments going on at the same time, right?
developments.
How many projects you have going?
8 right now.
Yeah. So putting in perspective. All right. So putting in perspective. So not only do you have your 3 kids, married, running an escrow business, successful one. On top of that, you have 8 projects at the same time. Talk about the projects for just a brief second.
Oh man. Whether it's a buy fix, in rehab process, either in permit process, development from ground up, checking on crews, management with the rental portfolio, which is in 4 states.
Yep.
Left that out.
Yeah.
Right. But this paints a better picture though.
And then, rehabbing a motel, so just constantly checking on all these things and moving. I don't know how, like, mentally moving from room to room for each thing.
Right.
But then coming back and being present with who I'm present with. The work-life balance, I've, over the last maybe year or two, just because I've been on this journey, I don't think there's a real work-life balance, because there's sacrifice, and you will have to sacrifice. And the quicker and the sooner you come to terms with that, and everybody is on board, then everybody can move more efficiently in the right direction for the greater goal. And while I was, doing all these things,
Very well said, by the way.
thank you. And I truly believe it. Like I was like, you know what? I listened to a podcast that was like, had to be earlier this year. And it was like, hey, I don't believe in work-life balance because, I mean, in reality, you think about it, it's like, oh, I'm going to have a relationship with this person. I'm going to be 100% here, but then at the same time, I'm going to be 100% over here. And I'm like, you can't have more than 100%. You just can't. So it's like, I'm going to be focused with you when I'm with you. You're going to have all my attention.
And just be present.
And be present. And then when I break and I go to something else, that's going to have my attention and focus. So then I started to realize it's more about harmony. It's, things
Very
are
well put.
Things are working together with each other. And is it perfect? No, it wasn't. But I started to get things really, really moving really, really smoothly. And the time committed while I was present at the office or in meetings was like super hyper focused. And I mean, I got a lot of stuff done, and like he'd ask questions. I'm like, okay, I was able to start narrowing my questions to like, okay, instead of the first little bit of fluff, I want straight drill down, give me the nitty gritty.
Just ask me the question.
Yeah. And let's focus on that one thing.
Yeah.
And let's attack that one thing. And I mean, I think for the company as a whole and with the rest of the team members, everybody started, like, as I was less present, but as when I was there, I think everybody started to get more focused.
Right. It trickles down to everyone else in the level of efficiency. It's weird because, like, if you have a traditional daily routine, and if your daily routine is, let's say, 8-9 hour day, awesome. You'll take the full 8-9 hours. But it's weird whenever you have a plane trip leaving at 1:00, how you manage to get everything knocked out because you're looking at that clock. Man, I got to do this. I got 1 o'clock. I got 1 o'clock. When you put that deadline on it, and you don't necessarily really realize how much filler was in there. You know, I bought this clock in my office. It's a little dial that has a 10-minute timer on it. And as I have my to-do things, I'm trying to allocate 10 minutes for a specific task. If I'm going to pre-review a file, if I'm going to do it. So I sit there and I'm like, I hit it, boom, and then try to stay on it. And my phone will ring. And I'm like, I got to get this done now. I got to get this done now. I got to get this done. And
You're like,
it's hard.
Look at that. Look at that. Should I just flip it over? Should I just think
It is hard.
Don't do that.
No, it is hard because then you do go into the abyss. And we have all these different apps and all these different things that are trying to grab our attention. And realistically, what a 10-minute task should really take 10 minutes sometimes starts burning to like a 45-minute, 1-hour task because we allow all these things to get in there. And as we keep changing these hats, we're not that efficient. But if we just focus that solid 10 minutes to get that thing completed 100, then we can go to the next thing and knock it out 100.
Yeah, I can't remember which book it was that I had read, but somebody was talking about multitasking and that you really can't do it.
No.
One thing.
Was it?
Yeah.
One thing.
It was the example that they gave was just simply reading an email. The phone rings. You're halfway through reading the email. The phone rings. You answer the phone. You have your phone conversation. Now your focus is off of the email you were reading, refocused on the phone call. But in the back of your mind, you're still thinking about the email, but you have no idea what the email's about. But you can't think about both things. You get off the phone, and you try to go back to where you left off in the email, but you can't. So you have to go back to the beginning, or at least 2 or 3 sentences early. So when you're saying focus for the 10 minutes to get that 10-minute task done, then it's a 10-minute task as opposed to distraction.
Yeah.
That 10 minutes has become an hour.
Yeah.
And you just lost 50 minutes of your day.
Yeah.
And you do that 2 or 3 times a day, it's like you don't get anything done.
Yeah. I notice that now when I'm doing pipeline reviews in the morning with my assistant, I have my little 10-minute timer and we're just going through names, right? And I have like my sheet now is a complete sheet of names top to bottom. So as we're going through, okay, what are we doing next? What needs to move that widget? Okay, next one. What needs to move that widget? Okay, next one, move the widget. What needs to move this thing forward?
Yeah. Is it moving forward or backwards?
Is it moving forward, backwards? Do, delete, or delegate? Pretty basic. Boom, boom. And you make the decision. And then it's weird when you start talking to, especially like realtors. And I feel bad for realtors, honestly, because they're out in the field making relationships. And relationships aren't necessarily like that, right? Because most of the world doesn't operate that way. So could you imagine as an agent that has to build relationships where it's like, all right, Tim, you want to buy a house? Cool. How many bedrooms? How many baths? What are you going to think? What are you going to spend? How about your down payment? Right? Okay, cool. All right. When can you see the house? Okay, let me put you on the calendar. All right, I'll see you then. Bye. Got to go. Like nobody would want to work with you.
Right.
So there is a piece of you that does have to break away, right? And then, especially now with transactions volume being a lot lower than it traditionally is, you have to almost pick up your phone call right away. So your kids are in the back screaming, right? And you're like, oh, the phone's ringing, the sign call, boom. Hey, how's it going? The switch goes on, and then you're on your way to go pick up the dry cleaning.
Yeah.
So not for any of the viewers or listeners, it's that life still has its complexities, right? But when you're in control of a specific time to stay in that space, do it, right? Like if you can control that, do it as much as you can. But I think it's also like a muscle. The more repetitive you get into that space, the better you are with it without having to say, I'm in my da-da-da mode.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. That's right. Talking about control, and I think I said it the last time I was on here when it was me, you, and our buddy Dan sitting in his office, and we talked about controlling your work environment, or just controlling your environment in general. And he talked about how what happened every single time I got to his office, what happened in this moment. And he said it was all by design so he could gain control of his environment. And that stuck with me. And I said that last time I was here, that day sticks with me. It's constantly in my head, and I'm always remembering that because sometimes, we all get derailed. And I try to go back to, focused and present and, going back to the competitiveness and the sports thing, it's easy for me to talk about that. It's like, excuse me, is how important coaching is in sports.
That's true.
And having the right coach, and not any coach. And so when I had met, I'm bringing this up to talk about our work history. When I had met Justin, it was just random at a PSAR event or something. The escrow company I was at the time won an award. So he was like, here's the award. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks, whatever. Then we just, we got into a conversation, and then, next thing you know, we were talking about, okay, how's it going to work if I come work for your company? And then the previous company that I was at was run in a completely different way. And there was like, oh, we're going to do homework, and we're going to read a book, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And while that was that individual's form or way of coaching and leading, wasn't my way, right? And didn't make me leave the company because of it, because I still found my way around all that.
Yeah.
But then coming to work with Justin, same messaging, same needs and wants for me to succeed, delivered completely different. Instead of, hey, we're going to do homework, here's the book you're going to read. He'd finish a book and say, hey, you should read this. It was pretty good.
Yeah. That's a huge difference, bro. There's a saying, it's easier to pull the string than it is to push the string.
Good one.
You're the string, right? You're the leader. You're pulling the string. And a lot of people have a tendency to lead from the rear.
Yeah.
And when you lead from the rear, you're the one with the whip. Like, hey, guys, you got to do this. Hey, guys, you got to do that. But when you lead from the front, you're really leading by example. And you're taking on, being point man, you take on all the battles, right? But it's by design. It's by design, because everybody starts looking at that individual and saying, man, if he can do it, then I can do it.
Because I'm watching it being done.
I'm watching it being done. And that goes to parenting as well. When with kids, it's weird when you really stop and think about some of these little basic ideologies, right? Because this is a pretty deep concept in itself. When you start watching others lead the way as you do, it empowers the rest of your staff. And I've already heard you say this probably 3 different ways. When he comes in and he's on mission with the questions at hand right away, everybody else picks up on that vibration and then starts mimicking that vibration. They are all acting like that because you had a great leader leading the way like that. When you're at family and you're focused on this very specific commitment, he had 100% buy-in from the entire family, because the last thing you need, and is to have the distractions. Hey guys, I'm the pilot of the plane. We're going to fly through a storm. There's going to be a bunch of turbulence. I need you guys to buckle in and just stay back and stay calm. Cool.
Right.
But if you're in the back and you're unbuckled and you're undisciplined and you're freaking out, it makes it super hard for the pilot to fly the plane.
That's right.
Right? So as a leader, it's awesome to set those expectations for everyone else around you, but not just setting the expectations for them. They actually get to witness how it's done and the method it's done. And then as they follow your path to do it, the likelihood of success is that much better. Right?
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, what one man can do, another man can do.
Right?
What one woman can do, another woman can do.
Yeah.
So, and like when you think about it, you're like, oh, it's such a stupid quote. But you think about it, it's like, if one guy can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. I was doing some training the other day, bro, and this is like a funny thing. So I was trying to do, I was playing with some pros, okay? Super good. And we're looking like our kill rates, right? And I'm like, he bleeds. and that was it. Everybody else was like, check. I'm like, yep. Shave your corners, bro.
There you go.
But that's it. It's just that little bit, just to recognize that they said that with the 5-minute mile. Then it became a 4-minute mile, right?
Then it became a three
whatever
it is
26
now,
mile.
You're right. Then it just keeps going, because all it takes is for somebody to really hit the envelope, and then they say, "Oh, it's doable."
Well, actually, just recently was the Baja 1000.
Yeah.
So I mean,
my good friend came in 3rd.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love this story. It's been the talk of San Diego and Baja for the last, I think, 2 weeks.
We had to go, by the way.
there was a guy, and I can't remember if he was from
Australia, I think.
Australia, flew into San Diego, bought a motorcycle. I think this is right. But
Really, really cheap one.
like a 1989 motorcycle.
CR500.
Yeah. Like,
but those things rip, by the way.
and drove down to the race.
Yeah.
Signed up on the spot. No sponsors, no support, no pit crew, no lead truck, no follow truck, no nothing. Maybe a water bottle and some kombucha.
Yeah, and some dip.
Yeah. And this guy crushes the race.
Well,
what year was
part
that?
of that was just this year.
This was like
that was this year?
Yeah.
This
No
year.
way.
Yeah, as the story's been told, when he took his bike to service to check it in, it wasn't good enough. They wouldn't let him ride. So all these other teams had heard about this guy, so they all chipped in.
No way.
They all brought parts.
To make his bike.
Yeah, my buddy Scott ran that. He did. I took third. So the place we were supposed to go fishing last December, remember that?
Yep.
So I have relatives that live right there along the coast of the Gulf, right? What's it called? The Gulf of Baja, Loreto.
There it is.
And they drive across their ranch because their ranch is like 50 miles, right?
Yeah,
so Baja 1000 actually goes across the ranch. And this year when it popped up, I saw in his post that he was going, and I was like, damn it, we should have went. That would have been so dope. Just go fish, come out there, watch the guys ride by.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just like that story alone. And I remember reading a little bit more and more and more. And just as it came more and more public, he's like, I was young, I saw this, and one day I'm going to race that race.
So do you think it's a choice? And this is something I've really been struggling with lately. I feel like there's many times where there's opportunities in life where we see ourselves doing something. Sometimes we see ourselves already accomplishing it, and then we just don't even follow through because we saw ourselves like, I can do it, and make the excuse of not following through. And then there's other times where like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And it's just 100% choice, and then you go through it, right? And I'm going to share with you guys something really random.
There's also the I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, there is also that. I don't think I can do it. There's the fear of what other people are going to think of you, right?
FUD, fear, uncertainty,
doubt. So I did this class, and it was beginning of 2019, emotional intelligence course. Super hard thing to do, by the way, because you're addressing a lot of internal issues, and it's with a group of people. And we're actually not supposed to talk about it. This is actually a funny thing. We're not supposed to talk about it. But I'll share with it. The only reason we're not supposed to talk about it is because as we share the story, it's to enlist others to join into a program like that so you can experience it for yourself. Mm-hmm. But at the very last, one of our last things we had to do was we got put into special groups. In each of these groups, we all had a task to do, and we were going to do a performance, okay? And each of the groups were actually put together because of a specific trait we operated in. So me, at the time, I was too much in my masculine, aggro, hard, grinding. I had to really soften up a lot, right? And so my group was all the aggro dudes, right? And then the other one was another group, and it was more of the guys who were the influencers, right? Like the guys that just smooth talkers and whatnot. And the other group was like women that were not in their femininity. They were just always single mom, had some issues of child abuse, whatever. They're always in that masculine. They're always hard, right? And so each of us had to play this role. And it's very strange to see this. One of the guys was like a straight up landscaper. Like I'm talking about like Bakersfield, okay? Older guy, 56, in his entire little group.
Easy, I just turned 54.
No. Well, right. I'm not too far from you, bro. But my point is this guy raised his family as a kid, learning his story as a background. And that particular group was like the shy guys, the guys that never really did something for themselves. It was about everyone else. They were the Chippendales. So in the group, I'm talking about like 70 people in this one room, turn the lights off, we're all around the outside edge. They performed the Chippendales, came out straight up G-string, did the whole dance.
No way.
Gave 100, bro. 100. The girls come out. They do like Madonna, like a virgin, right? Super skimpy dress, certain way. They had to do that. The other guys were like flock of seagulls, bro. Like they were like seagulls doing this whole like ballet dance. It was like really like, it was crazy. And dude, I watch people cry. My group, the aggro guys, did a straight ballet, bro.
No
Sweet.
way.
Dude, I kid you not. We were in the unitards, the whole nine. Yeah. And I remember sitting down with the guys, and this is how we were so like this. We're going to be the best goddamn nutcrackers these motherfuckers ever seen. Let's go do this. And we gave it like 100, like a ballet show, like a straight up 100, right? And it was a full blown nutcracker. Not this whole show, but the song, right? The little 7 minutes you got to do.
Yeah.
This is what changed a lot of perspective for me personally. It was a choice. It was a choice. We chose at that moment to dive into the feeling, the emotion, the softness, and just do it. And I mean, I'm talking about one guy was like Hawaiian, straight up Samoan. You know what I mean? Bro, people were crying because they saw how much we were putting into it.
Right.
It wasn't that we were that great. They just saw that it was a switch. That was that everything in life that we choose to do is all a choice. Should you really want it, and should you just accept it?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying that with the guy with the ride, when you mention something like that, that triggers me to go back to that mode and be like, oh my God, everything is a choice.
It is. And, for me to like going back to the race, I had to choose to do it. I had to choose to do all the training and to visualize, to use some of these kind of mind hacking things. Race day came and I got a couple of really positive text messages from family and from friends, and like, just, Tim's like, hey man, go out there, give it hell and have fun.
Yeah.
I chose to do that, but I knew like I had an amazing feeling before the race even started because I had finished the race.
Mm-hmm.
I had mentally done the swim, felt great. Done the bike ride, knocked it out. Did the run, saw myself crossing the finish line. Just like, yeah, I was like, when the race started, I was like, all right, I get to do this. Is awesome.
Yeah.
But I made the choice. And there's a great book. And one thing you learn about me, I'm always recommending books because I enjoy reading. It's called The Traveler's Gift. And in one of the chapters, there's a quote, and it's the statement of the chapter. It's life choices.
Yeah.
People think things happen to them. Mm-hmm. How did it end up here? How did it end up there? No, first life is a choice.
That's right.
We make choices, and then choices make us. Mm-hmm. So the choices that we make will be able to dictate and determine where our life goes and what we do. Mm-hmm. So it's a great book. I recommend getting it. Anybody that's listening to it.
That's the one that is that the one on the cover page where it has the pier and the guy sitting underneath the pier?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal book, and
10 years
it's just
since I read
like,
that one.
I love it. First we make choices, and then choices make us.
Yeah. That's why I was saying after when it's really like almost, it's a very specific mindset. And when you make the choice and then you just own it, and that's really what it boils down to. If you have to do an Ironman, if you're going to ride your bike 100 miles, if you're going to road march for 15, whatever the thing is, you just say, this is what I'm going to do. And when you see that, not just in what we do in those extracurricular activities, but it's also in the top producers. It's also in people that own businesses. It's also, if you're going to graduate from college, if it's whatever it is, it's owning the decision. And that's it. There is no other option. Right. And you see yourself there already doing it. Follow through with that.
And I think also at the same time, like, you got to give yourself a little bit of grace. Sometimes we'll make choices and decisions, and we'll go into an adventure, and we'll get down the path, and we're like, uh-oh.
Should I do this?
Yeah.
Did I make the right decision?
But then have a little bit of grace on yourself and say, you know what? When it comes to real estate or mortgage lending or investments or rentals or anything that you do, it's okay to pivot.
Yeah.
It's okay to make a choice to say, you know what? I think I need to reanalyze this thing and maybe, make a small pivot or actually retract the entire thing.
Right. But Elon Musk said that when he was doing, whether it was Tesla or he was doing SpaceX, he said the same thing. He's like, we were on the verge of bankruptcy so many times. He's like, Tesla was on the verge of bankruptcy literally 3 times. Yeah. He's like, I almost watched the company die.
Still is.
No. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, the guy, I got to give him a lot of props. The guy is like...
Great thought leader.
Great thought leader. I'm a little concerned for his future because Howard Hughes, and you see other rich individuals, what happens to them, you know what I mean? But especially when they speak their mind. But one of the things you have to give him credit for is that when he's all in, he takes it to the point of failure and just throttles back just a smidge to get past that next roadblock. Because that's the difference between being mediocre or being good and then being great. And then finding that next ceiling. Something new will stop, right? And then finding out, do I go over? Do I go through? Do I go around? Do I go underneath this? Do I enlist others to help me to accomplish this next goal? How do I get past this? And having that mindset regularly, right? And it's okay to fail. What's not okay is staying in the woe is me mindset.
Right.
That's what's not okay.
Right.
And it's okay to fall down. Hey, it hurts, cry, get it out your system. But if you're still breathing, that means you're still alive.
Yeah.
And if you're still alive, that means there's still more fighting you.
Yeah.
And if there's still more fighting you, you dust yourself off, you reorientate, you recalibrate, and you go back on the attack.
Well, and I think also like in life, like when I first started cycling and riding, and we were out with Tim, like, hey, how long are we gonna go for? He goes, well, we're gonna go. I'm like, okay, cool. So
you just go, we're gonna go until you pass out.
Yeah. And so then, I mean, we're riding, and it felt like forever.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, hey, are we almost there yet? He goes, no, we're almost there. I'm like, okay, well, I'm like kind of getting sore and getting tired. And he goes, well, let's just go a little bit more. And one of the guys that we follow, Jesse Itzler, who's, he's a great thought leader now and a great person to follow. He talks about, he's like, when you want to quit or, you think about you want to quit, like I wanted to quit the race probably like 37 times. All the thoughts that go there, you have nothing but time. And I was like, well, let me just go 3 more minutes. If I can go 3 more minutes, let me reassess and see how I am. Go 3 more minutes. I'm like, I kind of feel pretty good. Okay, let me go 3 more minutes, and then maybe I can quit, maybe just throw in the towel or turn around, or but I just kept going. I'd get there, and he's like, all right, we're here. Awesome, cool. He's like, but we got to go back,
right?
I'm like, we got to go back. Like, man, it sucked getting here. It's gonna suck more going back.
Yeah.
But after doing it now, I'm like, hey, you want to ride 70 miles today? He goes, maybe not. But now I'm looking forward to, like, as I was riding the bike on the Ironman, I had this moment, I have it in my mind, and I'm looking at my tracker watch, and I'm at like 98 miles. Yeah. I'm at like 99 miles. And Tim and I were always talking about we're going to do a century. When I crossed that 100 mile, I was like, dude, Tim was right there with me.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, dude, we got this. You just crushed it. And I'm like, I got so stoked, so motivated. I got way more energy.
You still have 14 more to go.
I still had them. And a 20 mile and a headwind. I was like, this was, but like in that moment, I was like, yeah, I love this. Like, give me some more.
Yeah. But and it's funny because like I've talked to like Navy SEALs, and they talk about like going through BUDS training, and then talk about going underwater and doing the water proficiency phase, right? And how they black out because they're sitting there doing their thing and they're getting blacked out, trusting their buddy, right? That somebody's going to save them. And I'm like, yeah, it's a crazy experience to get to that point where you're like, I don't even care. I'm going to black out, but I know my buddy has me. Like, I'm good. And if I don't, I gave it 110, right? And I remember I did the La Jolla half marathon with a ruck, and I got there an hour early. I started an hour early ahead of the whole running group. So I was like in Torrey Pines by the time the rest of the group started catching up.
Oh, nice.
So I made it all the way to La Jolla, and in my mind, I mean, because I did it for myself. Like my family's not there. I just went to
That's
do
a
it.
brutal race,
right?
too.
But it's all good. And I go, I wonder if I can make it home, because I don't live that far from
Right.
La Jolla. And I got down Torrey Pines, came all the way down, got to the hospital. I sat down. I'm like, God damn, this is hard. I'm like, this is going to be 25 miles, right? And got to La Jolla Village Drive in Genesee.
Oh, right
Okay.
there.
My hip flexor started getting out. Like I'm talking about, like I put my leg forward and it was like, whoom, I was like, whoa, like legit, like my hip flexors, and my cell phone's dead. So I can't even call like an Uber.
I need some help.
Yeah. So I started at 5 a.m. It's about almost 10 a.m. Okay. So there's a Verizon store there, and I'll charge my phone at the Verizon store. So cool. Got to the Verizon store, took off my backpack. I'm tired. I maybe had 2 miles left to go. But I was like, I'm done. I'm good. Like this was just for me. The Uber driver comes to pick me up. He picks up the rucksack, right? And it's legit like 65, 70 pounds. And he's like, throws it in there. And he's like, where are you coming from? I was like, well, I just told him. I just told you guys, right? And he's like this English Uber driver. He's like, are you insane, man? And I'm like, that's all good. You wouldn't understand,
Right.
So got home. I was tired. I was like super tired. I had blood dots on my from the straps, right? And so I'm like, I got to recover. I got to do recovery stuff. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go to 24 hour, get in the sauna, get to cold bath. Let me before I start cramping super hard, right? And I don't know if I called you because somebody gave me a tip to go to get a massage. He's like, oh, you got to go to Hillcrest. There's this place you can get this dope Swedish massage there, whatever. I go down there. After I went to the gym, 24 hour, get the massage. It's about 12-ish. I don't even remember falling asleep. Okay. I'm asleep in this massage. Wake up. I swear to God, I thought it was Sunday. Like I thought it was like the next day. Like I woke up. I'm like, oh, we're done. How long have I been here? You know what I mean? But it's just a certain point. And I think this is for all people. It's not just for men, and it's not just for young people. And it's regardless of whatever age you're at. It's okay to push yourself there once in a while. It's okay to raise the bar. It's good for you to raise the bar. It's good for you to get to the point of failure. And it's not because, oh, this is my new limit. It's now the new barrier you get a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. And I think the message of that one book is not only is a choice, is that you get to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to touch on, that going back to what he said when he talked about the conversations that he has with his family and the sacrifices that he's gonna have to make if he's going to do this.
Yeah.
But it was the communication. So I just want to touch on how the significance of communication in everything that we do.
Yeah.
Our relationship, we have to communicate. Whether it's we're going to go do something, we have to communicate that. When are we going to meet? What are we going to do? Who's bringing what? Let's plan. Work stuff. We're in escrow together. We've got to communicate that. And then I've been thinking about it ever since he said it. I just wanted us to touch on the significance and the importance of communication in all aspects of life. Mm. I've again, as I've gotten older and just gotten more self-aware and just become wiser, and accepting the importance of communication. Because as a guy, sometimes we would rather shut down, and we don't want to feel weak, and we don't want to be vulnerable. But as past relationships that I went through and going through some personal development, once you realize how important it is and how much, for lack of a better word, easier things become when you're willing to truly communicate with somebody. And they're not the easiest conversations to have sometimes. Sometimes you're going to deliver bad news, but sometimes you have to.
Right.
And, and that's okay. And, I'm not afraid anymore to tell you that you hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Where in my 30s, I never would have said that. I would have said, fuck you. I don't care about that, dude.
See, that's wisdom.
Exactly.
That is wisdom.
Exactly.
In men specifically, I think at a young age, and it's also, I think, partially it could be cultural as well, where when you show weakness, that is a weakness.
Yeah.
Right. And it's misconstrued.
Well, I think that's also like modern day society. You know, you don't want to be weak, but I think it's also a matter of perspective as well from the individual. Like what Tim said is like, well, now it's like that's actually like a superpower to be able to have that communication, especially in this day and age. It's so easy to send an email or send a text message, you know, versus like, hey, Anthony, I was just thinking about you. How you doing? How's the family? How's the kids?
Yeah.
How's that big freaking dog? That scares the crap
By
out
the
of
way,
me.
are you getting those? Did you sign up to that Instagram channel, the Doberman one?
No, not yet.
Oh,
no,
are you getting the ones I'm sending you?
Yeah, I
Oh,
get those. Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
But it's like, you know, nowadays it's like, you know, nothing can replace the audible conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and it touches a lot deeper. It's a lot more meaningful. So it is super, super important, like to have tough conversations.
Yeah.
And if in business, if you know you're going to have a tough conversation, or you know the news is not the best news that either you want to give or they would want to receive, it's okay to preface it, hey, this is going to be a challenging conversation.
A lot of that, and especially in the military, one of the things that we've had conversations about after the fact is that it's a suppression of emotion. And the reason you have this attitude of suppressing emotion is because you have to always put the mission first. And I've talked to this with, and this is not just like with special operators or infantry guys. This has to do with everybody within the military. Because if you're on the Navy ship, and you could be a female, and you're leaving your entire family to get on the ship for the next 3 to 6 months, you have to put your personal feelings aside and suppress the emotion of missing your family for the sake of taking care of the mission, right? And because it becomes a habit, it's a mental habit of constantly suppressing. Those emotions don't go away. You just compact them until eventually you get to a point like a volcano, something triggers it, and then it all pours out. Mm-hmm. The reality, the strength is being able to control the valve and allow the emotions to come out. Controlled, because it can be toxic if you don't control it, but it's okay. And it actually takes more strength to be able to put your hand up and saying, hey, I'm not good. I need help.
I'm not okay today. Yeah.
I'm not okay today. I got some stuff bugging me. I got some stuff really set. I'm not happy where I am in life. I'm not happy where I am with my relationships. I'm not happy where I am with my finance. I'm not happy where I'm at with my business. Things just like, you know, the house of bricks that we're building ourselves around our ego starts collapsing on ourselves. And if you just stay there in silent, that's when people start feeling insignificant. And when you start feeling insignificant, the things the thoughts that go through your mind is like sitting in a restaurant quiet, looking around and saying, I can disappear at this moment and nobody would miss me.
Not true. I will miss you.
You will miss me.
Not true.
Not to say I've never felt that before, but just saying hypothetical.
And I say that, to everybody. No matter what, somebody will always care about you. And even if you don't know that person, I will care about that person. You know, they are significant. They do mean something. Everybody means something. So don't have that feeling. If you have that feeling, reach out to a family or friend and just know somebody loves you. Like even in business, like, you know, especially in our market here, it can get small.
Yeah.
It can get very micro. And I have conversations with a lot of the agents and loan officers, say, hey, look, you know, I care about you. You know, I know it's tough right now. I'm willing to work with you and let's do this together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's, you guys, you remember I used to work with Jocko back in the day. So
yeah.
I get all these little Jocko-isms that come out
Love
sometimes, right? But one of the things that we learned about was, we talked about this one thing. This is like early on in the business, was like the laws of combat. But in real estate, he's like, you know, when we're looking at specific battle buddies and guys we want to work with, we're looking for 4 main key components. And you just touched upon one of them, because the one I'll touch upon with you is the last. The first one is waking up with a purpose, right? So if you're going to do what you're going to do, you have a goal, you're goal oriented, wake up with a purpose. Nobody else can give you that but yourself, right? Number 2, you can't take over the world alone. You have to have people around you that are going to pull you, draw you, not push you, but take you along, right? So you can't take over the world alone. Number 3, always being coachable. Always being open to new ideas, concepts, things, right?
True. Very true.
Recognizing that change is necessary. Change is always necessary. What the business is today is not what it was like last week, last month, last year. And what it's going to be in the future, it's going to need change.